First time of today, to dream, believe, you are the strength, you're all I need. Oh, gonna give it a shot, only one of me, to shield you all from the enemy. You're a superhero.
Hello everybody and welcome into the PGR eSports Intimidator Superspeedway Series, live tonight from the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, with another special event in store. And thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports, all new stage racing format to be introduced here tonight, and the payout system going to be a lot different to go along with it. Before we get into all the details, let's get right down track side as qualifying is complete and get into tonight starting order. The man on the pole tonight, none other than Coke Series driver and winner Daniel Falkingham in the 39. He will start from that front position. To his outside, the man starting second tonight is going to be another one of the former Coke Series drivers. That is Garrett Maines, rolling off in the number 1 car. Thomas Bennett will start back in the 3rd position tonight. John Ward to his outside in 4th. Going to be Nash Brambilla and Jackson Byes back in row number 3 with Logan York 7th. Trevor Osbornoff for the Jack Shack in 8th. Matt Lee 9th. And Wyatt Gray rounding out your top 10. Nathan Harper will roll off from the inside of row number 6 here tonight with Jeff Merck, one of the NBG drivers, to his outside in 12th. Back in row number 7, it's going to be Ken McCullough Jr. alongside Kenny Reel, another one of the Jack Shack drivers. Behind him will start Dylan Jones in the 15th spot with Corey Wright to his outside in 16th. James Waring, Kyler Wynn, two of the drivers that are going to be making up row number 9. Jared Haynes back in 19th, and it's Matthew Patton rounding out the top 20 here tonight. Back in 21st is going to start the 45 machine. That's Sean Corbett with David Flanagan in the 31 to his outside in 22nd. Back to 23rd, it's going to be Dylan Basin with Ethan Eckert to his outside in 24th. Kevin Champagne and Nick Seipel back in row number 13th with Max Dinda and Joshua McCullough in row 14. Coleman McMillan and John Ellis Jr. round out the top 30. Another one of the Canadian drivers in the field tonight, Malik Ray, rolls 31st. Matthew Baker, 32nd. Not sure if he's race controlling tonight or is actually going to race. Curtis Mitchell back in 33rd. Steve Sizemore, 34th. Jeff Byers, 35th. Cody Rogers back in 36th. Brock Westmoreland and Larry McDonald going to be back in row number 14. And make that actually even further back. Excuse me. That's going to be, hold on just a minute. Computer straighten itself out. Brock Westmoreland and Larry McDonald actually going to be back in 37th, 38th. So that's row 19. And then Andrew Zotto and Gordon Spain going to be rounding out the top 40. Mark Vondell, 41st. Michael Guest, 42nd. Mark Rogers, 43rd, with Sean Parrish, 44th. Tucker McClendon, 45th. Quentin Steinbach rounds out the big field here tonight, rolling off in 46th. All right, taking a look at your race info. We're going to go 70 laps here tonight. These guys have 75% fuel in the tank. 2 sets of tires, no fast repairs as always, fixed setups, and 1 green-white checkered. Track temp under 100 degrees here at Daytona International Speedway tonight. 2.5 miles in total length, 30-plus degrees of banking in the corners, and a whole lot of pushing and shoving. The name of the game here. And with that, quick update on the status. 2 stage breaks in play here tonight. The drivers with the most points at the end will be the ones that get payouts. But the stage breaks are on lap 15, lap 40, and of course the end of the race, which is lap 70. So let's see who's going to get off to the hot start here tonight. Got to be consistent if you want a shot at the money tonight. Green flag in the air. We are underway at Daytona. Hello. There we go. All right, and apologies for the delay. And we will get back now to on-track action for everybody watching at home there. Had a brief hiccup right as we went through the start. You saw one car spin down towards the bottom, and just as we went to pick it back up, I noticed that my mic did cut out, so I had to get that issue sorted out. But you notice one under caution, and it is for that reason. So again, brief delay there, but we've got things sorted out. We'll go back here and get you a look just in a moment at what this first issue was. Now, granted, not sure if the caution was for that single car that spun. I think there was a separate issue as these guys worked onto the backstretch, and sure enough, yeah, there's the big impact to the outside wall. The big one here on lap 1, Ethan Eckert, Ken McCullough Jr., multiple cars involved towards the back of the field here. And even towards the end of that, looks like, is that maybe one of the prime machines getting involved with nowhere to go? So we've got a lot to break down here, and it all started with this green flag, as Sean Corbett was actually the car that got shot out of line here just after we got the green. That was the first thing you saw before we went to a brief intermission right there, and just a big stack up on the inside. Not sure if somebody misses a shift or what the case was, but Corbett gets turned, and pretty decent shot there into the outside wall. If it didn't break any suspension components, he's probably okay. But remember, no fast repair here tonight. And for Corbett, that thing looks like it's limping. I have a bad feeling that did indeed break some suspension for Corbett. It did. See him crab walking. So his night's done before he even makes it to turn 1. And then maybe the case here for a couple more drivers as we get off towards turn 2 and then the super stretch is this is going to be Ethan Eckert right here coming off the corner. And watch up top. I don't think it starts with him, but maybe a little bit further up here. They get 3 wide. Oh, it's actually the 21 right there. John Ellis Jr. Does he go up the track? It looks like he does. Yeah, the 21. I'm not sure if he's just getting tight off the corner or if he thought he was clear behind Joshua McCullough, but man, he goes up and tags the 05 in the left rear. That sends him down into the 12, who goes back up the track. Big hit for the AutoZone machine of Ethan Eckert, and then collects a teammate. You see Matthew Baker indeed in the field tonight. He gets collected in this. And then now it's just a mad scramble to miss it. Kevin Champagne nowhere to go. A little bit further up, you see the 08. He gets involved. The 38, Gordon Spain, big hit to the left front for him. Just a lot of drivers here that we're probably wanting to, well, and you know, I was going to say take it easy early, but with tonight's format, you really can't afford to do that because if you're taking it easy at all this whole race, you're not going to be in those payout spots by the end of it. And I'll tell you why that is in just a moment. Here's another look here from TV1 is you see the 05. Was there any net code there? Only last question I want to answer about this here is, let's see. Maybe light, but man, I really think they were going to make contact either way. But then once it starts, again, it just progressively gets worse and worse from here. A couple of big shots there. I think Eckert, Ken McCullough Jr., arguably two of the cars to get the worst of this. As for Ken McCullough Jr., when he spun back up the track, certainly did not help his case here. As he will be the final view that we go look at here before we go back live and set up for what's going to be our first restart of the night. And there it is. You see Ken get turned, flaps deploy, but at this point, all you can do as a driver is hold on and hope for the best. So a pretty long slide and ride right there for Ken McCullough Jr. And as we now will turn our attention back towards the front of the pack, getting ready for a restart. First one of the night. Garrett Maines, though, the man up front leading the way. John Ward in second. And you've got Jackson Byes currently stationed in third. Daniel Falkingham fourth. Trevor Osbornoff back in the fifth position tonight with Thomas Bennett eighth. Nash Brumbill in ninth. Wyatt Gray Logan York actually going to stretch back towards the top 10. Looks like Jeff Merck now in there as well. And so this is interesting, and I'll tell you why. We talked briefly about the fact that there's stages here tonight, but let's get a little more specific here in terms of how the point structure works with those stage breaks here tonight. So here was the idea. We get a special event with the new stage format, but how it's going to be scored is based off you get stage points at the end of each stage, and then you also get points at the end of the race. So the brief idea from it, and this is what I've read so far in the announcements chat of Discord, is that Stage 1 and 2 winners are also going to be eligible for a $50 payout. That, again, goes to the winner of each stage. The race winner, of course, going to be eligible for $100, but then the rest of the top 5 payouts are going to be $250, $150, $125, $175, but it's not top 5 finishing position in the race. It's top 5 highest point-earning drivers through the race. And at the end of each stage, the top 10 will earn points. And of course, the stage winner would earn the most points at 10, and it would progressively go down from there to 1 as you get to that final 10th position. And then at the end of the race would be where I would assume is where they would have another payout and potentially set up like regular NASCAR, where it would be every driver earns a point through the field. And of course, it would start with maybe 40 points, in this case 46, since we have 46 drivers, and go down from there. That's the best idea as I have gotten so far from Race Control and in the announcements so far this week rather. So the idea here is that you can't really sit and wait. Qualifying even more important tonight than it usually is. And if you sit back and don't get top 10 in the first stage, you're already kind of taking yourself out of a chance of it. So you really got to get up here and get after it pretty much right away. That's what a lot of these guys are trying to do tonight. How about the new sponsor on board here for Jeff Merck? He's got the Blanchard's Towing and Recovery Scheme. Beautiful looking blue and black colors for him. And then Logan York, welcome back to the field tonight, Logan. You see him on the bottom, one of the Chevys at a Fort Meade. Let's see if he can find himself back in victory lane tonight. We talked about not winning any money at the end of the race if you don't have a good stage, but of course with the actual race winner still getting paid, nobody's out of it as long as you're still on track at the end of it. Here we go, green flag back in the air. Let's try it again at Daytona. Field Rockets back cleanly onto the backstretch this time. 3-car tandem up top. Maines, Ward, and the 48 of Daniel Falkingham trying to pull away from the field. And for Daniel Falkingham here, big run now coming back towards on the bottom. I believe that's the 33 of Jackson Byes. He's got the 89 of Osmanoff pushing. No third lane just yet up front, and with the newer next-gen car, third lane usually tough to get working. See if these guys can change that here tonight. Kyler Wynn going to be quick to jump up here with Jeff Merck. They're going to be the two tandem that try to get this line going early. Osmanoff now going to move back up to the top. Garrett Means fades a little bit. It seems like the bottom stronger so far to start this race. I know we've only ran about a lap and a half green. But again, we talked about the very cold track temp to start this race here tonight. Under 90 degrees, even though we're in the middle of the day. So that is something to keep in mind. Definitely going to affect the handling of these race cars. But look at the speeds. Over 200 miles an hour as they climb the banking into turn number 3. And remember, the locking bumper rule does not apply for this car. So these guys are able to tandem as much as they want to. But you got to be careful, especially as tires start to wear out, if we get into a longer run through this race. But with stage 1 going to be ending here in just about 8-9 laps time. Got to find a way to get yourself up and grab some track position here before things are all said and done. Remember, it's top 10 pays. Right now, the last two in those point-paying positions, Logan York and Jeff Merck, sitting back in that 5th row. Nathan Harper, Matt Lee, Dylan Jones, Kyler Wynn, watching for one of these names to jump out. How about Flanagan and Nick Seipel? That's another duo that could potentially make something happen and go towards the front of the field. And there is Matthew Baker, currently sitting just behind Curtis Mitchell in the 316. Baker, of course, involved in that first incident, but didn't get a lot of damage, so he's now trying to make his way back towards the front as well. There's Ken McCullough Jr., but, you know, it's interesting. It seems like for some of these guys, really a lot of them, I'd say, these cars dancing around in the pack quite a bit early, especially on exit of the corner. I'm not sure if it's just the speeds or the turbulent air that they're mixing up with how big this pack is, but, oh, watch out here. Seipel with big slowdown towards the middle of the pack. That's going to check up the lanes as everybody has to go left and right to get around him. Kenny Reel now up to the top in the 11, looking to see if he can maybe get linked up with the one of Malik Ray, just a couple spots ahead. And watch out here, another big checkup on the inside. That'll be the other thing to watch out for tonight. We always talk about the bigger the pack, the bigger the checkups are. And we have certainly got a very, very big pack here tonight. Still 2x2 though. Dega Pro's owner, John Ward, at the front of the field leading this pack. You've got Oswornoff in second on the inside, and then Garrett Maines, the first car, leading up top. And so with that third lane really being so hard to get going here tonight, obviously it makes it even more crucial for track position, but I think it makes it even easier to manage temps and more so just about which duo/trio can find the best connection, the best chemistry, and working with each other. So far, it seems like the duo and trios that have been on the bottom have had the most success. But the one of Maines knows he's got to stay down there and try to side draft as the 48. Still trying to get linked up with them here. They haven't had a ton of luck at it just yet. So we hop on the onboard view here. This is Daniel Falkingham in the 48. Currently finds himself in that 5th position, doing all the pushing on the outside. And for Falkingham, of course, you want to mention that right now he is in position to grab some stage points. And so this is obviously a big deal for him if he can hang on, as we're going to be coming to, I believe, just 5 laps to go in the stage when we cross the line. One of the other things didn't get clarity from race control on is whether or not the stage break ends at lap 15 or if it's at the start of lap 15. Falkingham, whoa, man, big wiggle. Oh, Maines is going to split. It's not going to work. Oswornoff trying to save it. Not going to do it. Back into the outside wall he goes. Caution out as the field scrambles to miss him. Another wreck out back is David Flanagan's in it. Kyler Wynn's got damage. And then further back to 22 slides in. That's Quentin Steinbach. One of the Toyotas tonight. And oh boy, is this going to set us up for an interesting battle to the stage right here. Oh man. Looking like it's going to likely be potentially less than, if we get anything, it'd be a lap to go unless the stage is going to end under caution. Certainly not going to be very many laps left, if anything, and we'll worry about that here in just a moment. Let's go back first and look at how this started. You saw from the onboard view for Daniel Falkingham, it looked like Oswornoff maybe wiggled a little bit. Not sure if it was a push that got him a little out of shape or if something else happened with that car. But once he started to get sideways, just trying to save it, could never quite get the car to fully reset on him. And here we go. Let's go back and look at this here. We'll go first to the turn 3 cam. Usually a pretty good angle here as we zoom things in for you. And watch this here as they go to the corner. Garrett's pushing a little bit offset to the right. And then John Ward at the same time actually coming up the racetrack a little bit. And that's from the push that the 92 is getting from the 33 of Buys. And that gets Ward up into the 89. May have been even a little bit of netcode right there between these two. But you can see once that contact first happens, that's what actually shoots Trevor up the track here. Let's see if there's any netcode. Watch the 89's left front. See Ward wiggle up? No, there's contact. That sends the 89 up here, and well, it's an interesting decision here, and this is a tough one too if you're Garrett. You see Garrett chooses to obviously go to the middle. The gap opens up. He feels like he's got to take it. Now, Falkingham from that third spot, he does lift. He sees this, and he lifts. So at this point, Garrett may have had a little bit of room to check up and maybe let Trevor try to catch it and come back down. But you could make that argument, but it's tough because, again, if you're Garrett, you know that the guys behind you are likely on your bumper. If Garrett checks up, it probably wrecks the entire field. So he obviously has to choose with, as soon as the 89 starts to get squirrely, try to go for the opening that he sees, which he does, and then Trevor just ping-ponging off a couple different cars here as he continues to battle to try to save it. So hard to do, especially when you get this loose in the corner, and there's the first wiggle, goes up, it's going to save it again, but you see you run out of wiggle room, and eventually the contact starts to get bigger and bigger, and this is the one that really does it for him right there. You see this car up the track, bam, big tank slapper to the outside, and then you see the 82 win here. He's going to see this coming. Trevor still trying to hang on to this thing. Wynn's going to try to go low. Trevor comes back down, and that sends the 82 down into the 31 of Flanagan. Seipel piles in with nowhere to go. Flanagan has a pretty tremendous save right here. Look at that thing. Got it about dead sideways here, but he's going to actually find a way to hold on. So he straightens it out and keeps it going, and then Kyler Wynn with some contact to the outside wall. And then Quentin Steinbach was part of a kind of a second or third wreck, if you will, that happened towards the back of this group when this first incident started. So watch these guys. They see it, and then it's the big checkup back here that gets the 11 turned around. And then he's going to back it into the 22, sends him back around once again. And I think that's Mark Von Dell down there in the Napa colors. He gets some contact as part of this. So, man, a lot of stuff to break down in this one. Let's go to the onboard view here of the leader as this happened, and watch it from the onboard view and the gearbox view for John Ward. See him wiggle up. There's the slight contact, and at that point you see Trevor already way off in the back, just trying to hang on for all it's worth. And fortunately, a lot easier said than done. So I want to back this up and give everybody one more look here from the spectator view. A heck of an effort there by Trevor. I mean, obviously, again, nothing you can do when you're that out of shape. If he had the whole racetrack, make an argument he maybe saves it, but usually not the case. And, oh, man, didn't see that for Curtis Mitchell there coming into the tri-oval. That was a late part of the incident. That was a big hit. I said we were done with the replays, but we got to get one more for this. Curtis Mitchell, oh, my goodness. He sees the wreck here, gets through the first part, makes it through actually the second one, too. He's going, looks good, and then there's going to be a car coming down the track as he tries to remerge. It's Flanagan, and bam! Day ender for Curtis Mitchell. That's a tough break for the 316. Meanwhile, back at the front of the field, lights are off on the pace car. We're getting ready to go back to green flag racing here. With 13 laps in the books, John Ward still leads the way. That makes me assume that race control not putting that on him. And interestingly enough, they don't put it on Jackson Byes either, and I have a couple of thoughts for that. First of all, more so just hard racing by the guys up front. Technically, nobody wrecked the other with all the pushing and shoving up front. Was it pretty aggressive? Did it lead to some contact? Yeah, absolutely. And it did get Trevor up the track and out of shape. Trevor initially looked like he saved it. Now, the caution itself may have technically been considered for that second incident out back. So not sure how race control did decide to call it, but if you're wondering why, that would potentially be some insight into that. Now, we're going to be coming to 14 laps to go, so folks, you know what that means. One lap shootout here likely in the stage, unless these guys go to the end of lap 16. I think my guess here would be that the stage break itself is going to be on lap 15. So keep that in mind here. If this is indeed a one-lap shootout, which for all purposes at the moment we're going to assume that it is, final shot and get some stage points. Here we go. Green flag back in the air, and it's a phenomenal jump here for John Ward. Maybe too good of a jump here. You got to be a little bit careful. Don't want to get too far out. You know these guys are hungry to try to beat you down either to the bottom or the top. Mains will follow the 92 to the bottom for the moment. Falkingham there as well. This top's got to try to get going, and they got to get it figured out pretty quickly up top now. How about the 4-car leading the way? That's Corey Wright getting pushed by Jeff Merck. 2x2, second lane, though, not able to get more than about 4th or 5th on up. Byes now going to split to the top. And here we go. Cars rolling into turn 3. Big telltale sign here is going to be if you see a move by Garrett and Falkingham, or if they stay where they're at the moment. There is the move. Garrett's going to jump up. Ward not going to try to block. And that's going to get Mains by. Falkingham will pull clear as well. Stage 1 winner is going to go to the one of Garrett Mains. No cautions for these stage breaks. These guys will still continue to race under green. Man, you see the 0-2 here of Logan York. Starting to make his way back inside the top 5. 3rd lane. Trying to get formed up again, and it's Ken McCullough Jr. who's found himself in the middle of some chaos multiple times tonight. More contact. They're going to wreck him again on the super stretch. Caution back out. And the computer freezing up for a moment. Apologies for that, but 46-car field was kind of worried this would be an issue. And they flew apart coming off of turn 2. Man. Looks like the only 2 slow to get back rolling here. Well, maybe the 08 is Steve Sizemore, but I was going to say more so looked like Larry McDonald and the 7 of Jared Haynes, who we saw get some pretty significant contact. Looks like his kind of left front and left rear, and more so left front, actually left front fender, sustained the most damage right there. This now puts us in our third caution of the night. Stage complete. Garrett Maines, your stage 1 winner. So he currently leads the point standings for who would get the highest payout at the end of the race, but of course still got 2 stages left. Let's go back and look at this one, and unfortunately for the folks at home, you're going to realize here, even as we go through replay, there's not going to be much to see, and like I said, apologies, but for the computer I've got, the best I can usually do running at this quality is somewhere around 40 cars. We kind of decided to go a little bit on the higher side tonight, looks like with 46, so could have some of these issues when things happen really quickly in the form of a big wreck like this. Yeah, so you can't really see much beyond that point. Again, I apologize for that, but watch it again here from the blimp cam. We can certainly see how it starts here as we just talked about Ken McCullough Jr., and he's actually working with his teammate here, the 05 Joshua McCullough. It looks like on this, they're getting on exit. That's a really sketchy part of the racetrack. The car unloads coming off the banking, and Josh, you could make an argument, was offset, maybe slightly, but that doesn't look to me like what actually causes the wreck. It looks like Seipel here getting a little tight on exit. Maybe coming up, and Ken McCullough Jr. maybe coming down, but there might have been actually been a netcode between these two. I don't know if they ever actually hit. So as they're coming out of the corner right here, notice where the tires, the right side tires are for Nick Seipel, just above that dark seam. Ken McCullough Jr.'s got his left sides just above the white line. And when they actually meet here, you can see at that point, Ken McCullough Jr. now has his left sides a little bit below the white line. And Nick Seipel, of course, definitely has those right sides above the seam. So both drivers are moving a bit here. And they're close, but it does look like there may have been a little bit of netcode right there that actually turns the 03 down into the 7. And then all the scattering is going to start here. You see Jared Haynes get down the track. He gets into Larry McDonald. And again, unfortunately, can't quite play the rest out there, but get the idea here as you see Larry McDonald spinning once these cars come back into view. Let's go back and look at this here one more time from the roll bar view. And again, just to see how this starts. You see Larry McDonald on the outside. Bam, gets turned, and then computer has a meltdown. So we'll turn our attention back live since we don't have a ton of replays to look at in regards to that one. 17 of 70 laps complete. And hey, on the bright side, if we keep eliminating cars at this race, then my computer may be able to actually handle some of these wrecks going forward. So 17 of 70 laps in the books. And if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you hanging with us. You're watching the Intimidator Superspeedway Series here for PGR eSports live tonight at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Special event stage format, and your stage 1 winner here, Garrett Maines. Let's see how he's feeling after a pretty confident start here to a pretty new format. See if we can find him first. Now, it looks like we can. Let's see how Garrett Maines is feeling here after his first stage win of the night. All right, and briefly hop down, trying to bring Garrett up in the process, so we'll try it again. Hey, Garrett, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was channel hopping to find you, but we were able to, I want to bring you in here for just a moment because obviously you win the first stage. New format here tonight. Tell us a little bit about how you felt like it was a different aggression here tonight for yourself and a lot of the drivers, knowing the way the format pays out here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, making moves like that, coming to 15 to go, you wouldn't be doing without the stage, but I think it just, it really emphasizes taking the risk early on to get those points, because there's not a huge benefit to being there at the end. It's, you got to get them early, get them when you can, and, I'm hoping to just keep my track position as much as possible tonight. At the end of the day, it's kind of the same routine as normal for me. It's stay up front as much as I can, but, yeah, it's just going to be stay out of trouble here on this restart. We're going to be a little bit deeper in the field with some strategy, but do what we had to do. We got the first stage win, and shout out to Dan there with the push. I'm very thankful for the caution. I think he probably would have stole it, but, happy to start the night off with the stage win for Wake and Water Technologies.
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to ask you real quick here, Garrett, before we go back green, is obviously cooler track temp here tonight. Haven't been in this car for a while. Does it seem like, how's it kind of felt like the racing's been? Has it been hard to get runs going?
Yeah, this package is a lot different than what it used to be. That outside line, especially with the wind, we're almost chipping out fifth gear down the backstretch. I mean, it's a huge difference. Going down the back, I think we're doing like 202. It's just really hard to get a big run. Somebody has to make a mistake. I think it's more dependent on the third car than anything, because you can have the second car tucked up on you all day long, but the energy seems to come from further back. So it'll be interesting how this plays out. I mean, it kind of feels like luck of the draw as to whether or not you get clear. The bottom's a lot stronger than it used to be, so I guess we'll see how this goes.
Absolutely. Well, Garrett, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats on the Stage 1 win, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again here at the end of Stage 2 or the end of the race.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and we'll go ahead and slide Garrett back down here to the teammates that he was working with. And if you heard a brief hiccup, that's because I hopped down in one of the channels when I was trying to bring Garrett up. But otherwise, if you're just tuning in, we're getting ready to go here for Stage 2. And that did answer another question right there. If you heard what Garrett said, he needed that caution to come out to win the stage, which tells me that the stage itself actually ended on lap 16 and not lap 15. So we'll keep that in mind here for the end of Stage 2, which will be as they cross the line to take lap 31. So I think we finally got the format straightened out here as we're going to go back green now with 19 of 70 laps in the books. And just like that, green flag back in the air. This time, though, it's Brock Westmoreland who sees the green flag first, and he leads everybody out of the tri-oval. Max Steinda in the 48 currently sitting just behind him. Kyler Wynn has made his way back up towards the front as you see a little beating and banging back there. Look like maybe Garrett May trying to get to the bottom. Whoa. Big push right there. That's the 11. Oh, watch out. Man, these guys are still dancing all over the place. Big move to the top here, though. This time looks like the 11 ready to get to work. Trying to figure out exactly who that was here. You see Mark Rogers in the 183 actually pushing. That's Dylan Basin in the Denny Hamlin paint scheme for the number 11 car here tonight. 3-car tandem, though, working on the bottom. Almost 5-car tandem as Maines got connected there with Falkingham. He got connected to Kyler. That momentum stretches all the way back. Another big move now up to the top for the 82 of Wynn. It's going to be exactly 12 laps remaining here in this stage. And so for these guys here the rest of the way, man, John Ward up top looking really, really strong. And the number 92, I see the 40 up here now as well. We've got a lot of new faces that have made their way to the front here in this second stage. Michael Guest, though, had a great finish last week, took second as he battled out with his teammate Kyler Wynn, who won the $1,000. So he'll be looking to see if he can do one spot better here tonight. Kenny Reel, Nathan Harper, Wyatt Gray. Just a few of the drivers here stuck right in the middle of this pack. You see the sparks flying. Man, as they get 3 wide, it just makes you more and more nervous. Towards the back, John Ellis Jr. with another big slide up towards the middle. And for Joshua McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr., you see them trying to work their way to the front. We talked about, and you heard Garrett kind of reassure the strategy of it's really just you got to fight for track position all race. But part of me at the same time almost wonders if, do you make a decision here if you feel like this thing's starting to get too chaotic and too out of control to just save your car if you don't think you've got enough to qualify for the top 5 in stage points by the end of this race and just try to battle for the win at the end? I mean, there's still $100 on the line for that. I think all answers are pointing to no, not with the racing we're seeing up front right now. Michael Guest, big surge around the outside. Ward, though, has to disconnect going through the middle of 3 and 4, and now the bottom sees a little bit of a surge, but Guest still able to get clear in the front of the 11 of Basin. Man, it feels like another ticking time bomb for these guys. 3 wide, inches apart, and man, everybody just looks so out of shape. These next-gen cars, obviously with the big spoiler in the back, helps with the big runs, supposed to help with handling, but again, everybody has looked all sorts of out of shape tonight. The runs haven't really been there, and part of that's just because of how fast these guys have been running. You heard, of course, Garrett mention the weather in terms of the wind direction as well, playing a big factor in the speeds that these guys have been running, especially down the backstretch. Hop right on board here into the middle of this chaos. This is going to be on board. In fact, we're going to go to one of the newer drivers in the field tonight, Jeff Byers. How about an onboard view for him? The number 19 currently sitting on the inside, back to the 15th spot. And there are 3 wide all around him. So he tries his best here just to hold on, and then as you start to turn your attention just a little bit further back here, another one of the drivers in the middle of the chaos, the 60 of Jeff Merck. Jeff Merck carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. There's the 60. You can see, I mean, the tension's real when you're in the middle of the pack like that. He's got a teammate up there in the 5 of Matthew Baker, but before he's able to actually get connected with him, you can't really do much. I mean, being on the bottom, you of course have the option to bail out to the apron if need be, but looks like they finally decided to get it back to 2x2, at least for the moment. Basin still leads up top. Just as quickly as that third lane went away, it's going to try to get going here once again. 2 of the McCullough Motorsports drivers, Joshua McCullough and Ken McCullough Jr. there. And up towards the front here, looks like the 183, Mark Rogers, going to get shuffled to the outside as he'll now fade back. And oh man, that was a big push to Rogers there by Joshua McCullough. He actually got into the outside wall a little bit. I don't think he was expecting a push that big. 2x2 though here down the super stretch this time. Remember, no green flag pit stop going to be needed here before the end of stage number 2. Which would, I guess, partially beg the question of, is there any sort of pit strategy to play in regards to if you feel like you're not going to get the stage points in this stage, try to get something for the end of the race? And I'm not sure exactly what the answer is to that question because everybody on different strategies here based off when you made the pit stop. Brock Westman, of course, stayed out. You assume part of the hope there was to get some stage points here in this run. Now the 211 cars side by side, and watch out up top. Here comes the coasting Thunder Machine. Matthew Baker leads that high side here with a big, big run as they work onto the super stretch. 2 cars tandemed up behind him. They're going to need a little more, and now it looks like the 60 Jeff Merck going to drop back down in line. The other one was Matt Lee. And another big run out front here. 2x2, but Maines getting ready to jump back up top to help Harper. Kyler Wynn's got a big lead, but the lanes behind him going to force him into a move, and he'll go back to the bottom. 26 of 70 laps complete. 5 laps to go here in stage number 2. Everybody's still minding their P's and Q's pretty nicely here at the moment. Got to keep it nice and tidy here as well. I want to make another correction here. I actually am looking at it now. It looks like stage 2 here going to be at the end of lap 40. So that would actually stretch it a little bit further for these guys. So initially thought that these guys had broke it down as 15, 30, and then 70, of course, being the end of the race. But it looks like we're actually going to have about 15 laps to go. Whoa, man, Logan York. Oh, man, trying to catch it. Not going to save it this time. Big hit for the 0-2 as he's going to take out quite a bit of the field in the process. Everybody goes through the grass. Caution back out. Joshua McCullough takes another big hit at the end. Steinbach had nowhere to go. Oh, man. 27 of 70 laps complete. Caution comes out. And just a couple of minutes ago, I would have been saying this would have done it for the stage, but again, with it not actually ending till lap 40, it's going to change some things. And of course, this caution going to change a lot of things as well with the drivers that got collected in this one. So let's go back and look. It all started with the 0-2 of Logan York. It's going to get sideways here, but the question is, what got him sideways? Was it a push out back? No, it's before then. Some contact here. You see him on the outside right here. Is there a little bit of net code? Yeah, there is. Looks like York was slowly moving down. Garrett was slowly moving up, but they hadn't actually touched. Right there is where the contact's going to occur. Watch it right there. And you can see they're not actually hitting each other, but then that gets York sideways. And man, it looked like right here he had it saved, but it's that second little correction right there that gets him. Now he's really out of shape and still trying to hang on. Eventually gets back down into the one of mains, and now he's lost it. It's going to go back up. Joshua McCullough nowhere to go. There's a big hit for the 0-2, and then everybody else here just trying to scatter to miss it. Ken McCullough Jr. gets involved. John Ellis Jr. there as well. See Jeff Merck, he's going to get turned, and then it just leaves nowhere to go for a lot of these guys. Jeff Merck does get it straightened back out eventually, but let's see what he saw here in his onboard view as this chaos broke out. Sees the smoke, dives low, looks like he's going to miss it, but then actually gets collected there in the back half of it, although that looked like it was more so to the front clip of the car, which means he should be okay to keep going if that was indeed the case. Back, look at this here from Gopher Cam, coming off of turn number 4. By that point, the whole field already went by once the caution occurred. So we'll give you this here from a different perspective. Let's go back here to TV3. And now watch as York gets into the outside wall. A lot of people have to go through the grass here to miss it. A fair amount of them do. See the 7 of Hainsdale goes for a slide. I think he's going to take a pretty big hit up into the outside wall. And it looks like Steinbach and Joshua McCullough, who we saw get involved towards the back end of that. Saw them collected there as well. We've had a couple of big ones here tonight. Pace this is going, I'd be shocked if we've got that many cars left at the end of this race. And I'll tell you what, that was a pretty impressive little maneuver that Jared Haynes pulled right there to avoid big-time damage. I'll tell you what, they say never stop driving the car, and watch what Haynes does right here. He gets turned, and this thing is going back in hard into the outside wall, but he waits until he gets close, hammer back down, turn the wheel back to the left, and he's able to just keep it off the wall and keep it going in the right direction. As you see John Ellis Jr., Mark Rogers, a plethora of cars that got at least some sort of involved in this one. Now, how much damage they all got certainly varied. Didn't see too many cars that looked like necessarily had night enders. But certainly a lot of guys that are going to have track position affected by that. So going to be 29, 70 laps in the books now. And remember that stage break again, not actually until the end of lap 40. So the correction there. And by the way, the winner of that first stage, which of course was Garrett Maines, also got an extra $50 in his pocket. So he's now technically kind of playing with house money for the rest of the night. So he'll try to see if he can repeat and do it again in stage 2. I'll tell you what here, I'm just thinking about this logically. The most money someone could take home here tonight, last week it was $1,000 to Kyler Wynn. Garrett Maines wins stage 2, that's $100. If he wins the race, that's $100 for winning the race, and then he would get an extra $250 for winning in points. So the max amount of money someone could take home here tonight would only be Garrett Maines, since he of course won that first stage. And if he's able to complete the full sweep, looks like tonight he could potentially be taking home $450 if it were to all play out that way. So we'll have to see how it pans out the rest of the way. But I think 10 laps to go here. And then after that, if we stay green, which has been a bit of a struggle so far here tonight, then strategy becomes a bit of a question. It'll be about 30 laps in that final stage, but don't forget there's no caution scheduled even once we get to the end of a stage. So at the end of lap 41, unless we're under yellow for some sort of incident, we'll still be green, even though the stage itself will come to an official conclusion. And it'll be interesting to see here for Garrett Maines if he's able to get linked back up at the 48 of Falkingham. Does he return the favor for the stage, or does he try to beat him out by one more position to see if he can get that edge for when he might need it towards the end of the race? All right. Looking at the cars, by the way, real quickly, that are now out of this race. Looks like from about 40th, 39th, rather, on back are some of the cars stuck in the pits or out of this race. Not sure what the issue was here from Malik Ray, if he got involved in an incident that we missed or some sort of technical issue. His night has also come to an end. Back into the restart zone we go. Engines were back to life, and the green flag is back in the air here at Daytona. Saw a little bit of a stack up there, especially for the inside line on that restart, but looks like the field has managed to keep it pretty clean all the way on back. Single file on the bottom for about the first 4 cars, and they have got a ton of momentum here as Garrett Maines still trying to get this outside charged up with the 4, Nathan Harper. You can see our first move here from a driver jumping to the top, and it looks like the 40 had guessed one of them, but the man up front, oh man, that was Nick Seipel, but now Kyler Wynn jumps out. Another big move setting up here on the 48 of Daniel Falkingham. And it just looks like bumper cars for about the first 4 to 5 cars deep. That's how much pushing you got to do in these cars now. They used to get a lot bigger runs where a 2-car tandem was much more effective, but I've heard some guys describe it as it kind of feels like Russian roulette now. Roulette in general, but just in the sense of you don't know what you're going to get. You know, I mean, you jump to one outside, and it could really be any sort of guess as to whether or not that lane's going to make momentum or not. And so far here tonight, it's felt that way. Track temp being cool has certainly not helped with that issue, and that third lane has just really not been able to get organized too much at different points throughout this run. Another big move up top. That's Jackson Byes in the 33. Knows that we're about 10 laps, making 9.5 to go here. Saw Garrett Maines with a little block on Michael Guest there towards the back. The 40 going to jump back up. Maines feels the momentum's on the bottom at the moment. He stays there with Kyler Wynn. Now he jumps up. The old man Kyler with a big-time block right there on the one of Maines. Now everybody's going to go up. Oh, big hit. Nick Seipel gets turned from the lead. Caution back out. And they're still wrecking up front. Multiple cars involved once again. Nobody's holding the brakes. And we're going to collect a few more before it's all said and done. Garrett Maines is in it. The 12 of Ethan Eckert in it again. The 5 of Matthew Baker. The 8 of Steve Sizemore. And it looked like this one may have done a little more damage. Man, Nick Seipel taking it to the pits. His night is over. Goes from leader to wrecker. Let's go back and look at it here. There's going to be a lot to break down on this one, too. You kind of got a feeling here. So you see Seipel up front. This is actually the last caution here. Let's get you to the most recent one. And so you're going to have Nick Seipel up front right here. Let's see. So you see Nick Seipel's up top. Harper's second. But there's so much going on out back here. And I think Harper's watching that. So you see Garrett. He gets a run on the outside. Kyler jumps up to block. No issues there. A little bit of a stack up, but they all keep it together. But Harper's going to see this run charging up. He knows it's coming, and he feels like if he doesn't jump up top here, he could get buried. So he goes for it. Seipel says, yeah, I don't think so. Initially goes to block, but then it looks like Seipel actually goes back down. It looks like for Nick's case there, he decides, hey, listen, I don't feel like I'm going to be able to hold this move off. And so he goes back down, but the run is just so big from out back by that point. And you got to assume the little checkup here from the kind of half block didn't help with that. But again, they're okay here. Seipel initially thinks about it and then says, you know what? You guys are there. You can have it. Starts to go back down, but then I don't know if it's from that checkup or if the run was just that big out back from Kyler Wynn, but it says he gets to Nathan Harper's back bumper right here. Hits Harper, and he hits him just a little bit offset to the left. Sends the Ford down into the 75's right rear and turns it back up the track. And this is about as hard as you can hit here at Daytona, getting wedged into the outside safer barrier, coming to the line through the tri-oval. And then you see everybody's got to scatter just to try to miss it. And then there's that secondary wreck up there with Garrett and a few others. We'll go look at that here in just a moment. But for these two, just trying to see if there's any more contact. Yeah, pretty good hit right there for, it looks like, Ken McCullough Jr. And then everybody else from there on out looked like was able to go through the grass. Well, we talked about here the fact that Garrett Maines did get involved in this in one way or another. So let's go back and look at it. And so here's, again, the initial move. Seipel goes down, gets turned. Big hit for the 75. And what happens to Garrett right here? You see the 48 of Falkingham goes under. And Falkingham's tried to lift. I don't think that was intentional by any means, obviously. These two certainly had been helping each other. And even if they weren't, again, no intention in this here. I just think that kind of they got put in awkward spots. And I don't know if the caution had necessarily flew by that point or not. But you see Falkingham going down right there. Sees Garrett, dives a little bit lower, but the contact's already made there. Then Falkingham on the apron. Car just gets tight. And just kind of a weird incident between those 2 to 3 drivers right there. But, man, for Garrett, that's a big hit that he takes, too. I'm shocked that didn't break any suspension components for him. Kyler got maybe a little damage, too. And then you see everybody else that has to scatter to miss it here. And that's what caused kind of that second big melee we saw here as they got onto some of the asphalt below the apron, headed towards turn 1. Watch this here from our turn 1 entry cam. I'd be very curious to see how much damage Garrett Maines has from this. But let's go back and watch this one more time. So this is going to be as they're coming through the travel. Give it just a moment here. And there's the wreck out back. And then watch here is, there's the big hit for Maines. Man. And a 5 of Baker goes down. Nowhere to go. And then a couple others involved. Logan York, pretty good save. Ward goes for a slide, but I don't see any major damage for him either. Garrett does get it back rolling, though. And it looks like for Garrett Maines here, he's actually being scored as your race leader. So that would make me assume there's no way he went in and got that damage fixed. And it looks like he has it. Still definitely some damage to the left side, but I think he feels like with the amount of laps we're going to have left in this stage, you can't risk it. Got to fight whatever stage points he can get. Let's see. Looks like the steering wheel pretty offset to the right, at least compared to a couple other drivers. Now that could be natural, I guess, if he had offset, but part of me thinks there's maybe a little suspension damage in that race car. Certainly would be surprised if there wasn't, because he took a pretty good tank slapper into the outside fence. But nonetheless, quick shout out to everybody watching the chat here tonight as the PC goes through another struggle here briefly. And looks like Baker's mom, good to see you back in the chat tonight, rooting on, of course, her son, Matthew Baker, in the field. Devin Ray watching tonight, as is Jerry Bies. Carl Haynes. Looks like Curtis Mitchell was in the chat for some point. Evan Carlbon. Bones does. It looks like Bones does says that's iRacing sloppy, but no real fault in regards to that last incident. You know what? I agree. I could see the argument for that, Bones. Certainly a very odd situation for a couple different perspectives on the wreck. So it'd definitely be a tough call either way. And yeah, I could see it as if that was more so just a racing incident. But nonetheless, watch this one car. This is going to be interesting because he's got a lot of damage on the left side. Nathan Harper, though, the lead pusher on the outside, also has a lot of damage. So I'd say it's about anybody's guess which lane's going to prevail. This might be the first real shot at the third lane having a chance. See Kyler Wynn, he's up here. He's the lead car on the outside. He's also got damage. So a lot of cars that sustain damage through that last yellow are still out on the track because they know that we're only going to have about 6 laps to go here in this stage. So you got to make everything count. That's exactly what we're going to see right here. Question is, do they have enough speed to stay up here? Here we go. Green flag back in the air. 6 laps to go in stage 2. Oh man, still too wide right out of the gate. I thought for sure that Garrett was maybe going to consider jumping up when he got the run, but the bottom's been dominant all night. He'll stay there right now with his tandem partner. The 48 of Daniel Falkingham linked up bumper to bumper, but here goes the outside. Kyler Wynn, big run on Garrett Maines. The 4 of Harper's going to try to go with him as well. As they rocket onto the super stretch, 3, 4, 5 cars deep, tandem pushing now on the outside, 4 car pushing on the bottom. But you just wonder, is the damage for Maines hurting him? He'll try to draw back even now as they work into turn 3. Momentum equal for both lines, and now Kyler's going to jump to the bottom. Looks like Logan York's got a little bit of damage there towards the back as well. And 3 wide already out back. These guys going to start jockeying for position pretty quickly. See Tucker McClendon back there. The 00 trying to make something happen. Oh, trouble. Caution. Field way out of shape out back here. Couldn't see if we had a car spin or not right there. An interesting look here. Or was it a big checkup? Oh, there's your answer. Is that Gordon Spain? Yes, it is. 38 hopping through the grass. I wonder if that was maybe the cause of this caution or not. Spain will get it back rolling here. Back onto the apron. 6th caution of the night. In less than 40 laps in the books. See if I can look at it here and see exactly what causes this one. And it looked like, from where the caution came out, you almost got the thought that it was something up front. Let's watch on the spectator view first. They cross the line. Oh, there it is. You see it up there with actually, and I didn't see that as it happened live, but it looks like, is that going to be, I think, the 11 of Kenny Reel. That's who it looks like here from distance. Let's go zoom this in and see if we can figure out if that's exactly who it was. No, it was actually a little bit behind Kenny Reel. It looks like that's going to be, is that potentially the 3 car? Matthew Patton. That's exactly who it is. So where does it go wrong for Patton here? This is going to be as they're coming into the tri-oval. See the 7 of Haynes is getting a run behind him here. Patton starts to go up a little bit. Haynes sees that, says, okay, you're going to go up. I'll take the run and go down. But then Patton comes back down. Haynes is already there. And the 3 just gets himself turned off the nose of the 7. Down into Brock Westmoreland. So that was the immediate caution. They'll save it. But obviously you got to throw the caution there because it looked like it had that possibility of potentially being big. And you don't want guys still hammering the throttle. And then Gordon Spain just kind of a little secondary spin here towards the back. Man, looked like he was off-roading with this thing. Look at the bunny hops. Daytona, so much for being a smooth surface down the ground. Look at this thing. Man. All right, well, Gordon Spain certainly putting the shocks to use on that car. Let's go back and look at it here. Should say suspension. I don't believe these cars necessarily run on shocks, but you notice here, watch for the contact here. You couldn't see it from that angle, but then you'll see it here for Gordon Spain as, oh, he actually hits a bump. Yeah, he hits a couple bumps on the pavement before he actually even gets into the grass. Well, now let's go back and actually watch this here from the onboard view. I'm curious what it looked like from Matt Patton's point of view. It'd be hard to find a way that this wreck wouldn't be classified on him. I mean, I know it's nothing intentional here. He probably didn't expect Haynes to split him, but I mean, he left the hole wide open. Jared Haynes obviously went for it, and as the 3 comes down, here's the big hit into the side. Westmoreland kind of netcodes into him, but that was a pretty good shot. You hope that doesn't do too much damage there for Brock Westmoreland, who went through the pits, but overall was able to save it. So the field does keep it together and gets back onto the racetrack. Well, man, lights are still on the pace car, and if they go off this next lap, then we're going to be setting up for another one-lap shootout, which technically didn't classify as a one-lap shootout on that last run. We found out after the fact that it was at the end of lap 30, or rather lap 15. This stage going to be at the end of lap 40, so that'll be as they cross the line to take lap 41. And all four of the special events here tonight, but we'll have to see if this is a format that gets established going forward. These guys keep it the same, and I was sitting here thinking before the race started on maybe some ways that this format could be improved even more. And if you have any suggestions in the chat, certainly like to hear them. Be curious to know what the folks at home are thinking. But one of the ideas I was kind of wondering was if there was deductions for your total points at the end of the race based on if you caused any accidents. So you would be deducted a certain amount of points for every accident you caused. That would be one of the things I kind of had in mind. Then, of course, I like the idea of some stage points, but part of me almost thinks that some way or another the race, which, and I think this is what I heard guys mention earlier, but to me there should still be a setup where race points itself heavily outweigh the stage points, but it's more so a setup that if you do pretty good in the race, rather at the end of the race I should say, and you had even sort of decent finishes in the stages, that's where those points help you out. But part of me kind of thinks that the idea of finishing good in the stages but having a terrible end result just kind of feels weird. Especially if you got a guy that goes up and wins the race and he's getting paid less money than the guy who led random lap 15 and lap 40 in the race. But again, special events, these guys obviously trying something new here tonight. By the way, last announcement I'll make here as we get ready to go back green. I think we talked about this already, but PGR officially has surpassed the 1,000 subscribers mark on YouTube, and couldn't have done it without everybody watching for the years now that PGR has been running, so we certainly appreciate it and hope that everybody has enjoyed hanging with us, and we look forward to seeing everybody in the future. So with that, let's set up the lineup here for the restart. Kyler Wynn, Garrett Maines, row 1. 2 damaged cars, I want to make a note on that. And you've got Daniel Falkingham and Michael Guest, 2 clean cars in row 2. Nathan Harper and Matthew Baker, row 3. And then Logan York and John Ward back in row 4. Jared Haynes, boy, what a night he's had. One of the Jack Shack drivers who's just had to continue to fight. He's lost a teammate early on, and of course Trevor Ozernoff being involved in one of the first cautions we had. And Jared Haynes himself has been involved in a few cautions, but he's been able to keep fighting and now finds himself up here running in that 9th position. That is 10 spots better from where he started this race at. Kenny Reel, Jackson Byes up here as well. Good run going tonight for Byes. One of the drivers who is, of course, in the playoffs now in the PGR Light Series on Monday, so congrats to Byes for that. Jeff Merck, even after that earlier incident, now finds himself back up in the top 15. You've got Wyatt Gray, Tucker McClendon, Matt Lee, Thomas Bennett, Matt Lee, Corey Wright, Mark Von Dell, and Max Dinda. The rest of the drivers rounding out the top 20. So it is going to be a one-lap shootout here, and I would say this is going to be a really, really kind of all chaos and all heck breaking loose, because for Maines and Wynn, that damage is limiting, but they've only got to hold on for 1 lap. Then I think realistically, if they have to pit, they would be okay with it. I don't think they will, but you get the idea here that they're going to probably be pretty aggressive to try to capture the second stage victory. If you're Garrett Maines, and of course Kyler Wynn looking for that stage victory as well. See if a third lane can get developed here soon enough. Restart zone they go. Advantage to the 82 of Wynn, who gets the bigger jump. Green flag back in the air. 1 lap to go in the stage. Man, great jump for Kyler Wynn. I think he's trying to pull himself and teammate Michael Guest down to the bottom of the racetrack here by the time they get to turn 1 of the backstretch. They're going to do more than that here. They might pull the 5 of Matthew Baker clear, but they'll continue to roll this top while the momentum is there. And no move down yet. Guest not going to cover it. That's going to leave it to Kyler Wynn. One of the 2 teammates here hoping to win this race, but Wynn still up top for now. Third lane rolling. Byes trying to get some momentum. He's got a push from Merck. And now we're going to see the 2 teammates drop back down to the bottom. That'll open up to Matthew Baker up top. Where did the 5 car come from? Looking for a chance at the stage as they rocket out of turn 4. The momentum, though, still all on the bottom for the moment. Kyler Wynn led them as they were coming out of turn 4 as caution back out. And that would explain the computer going bonkers, but you notice that Kyler Wynn leads him back to the line. Caution came out earlier regardless, so he wins the stage. And they still wreck again, even after the line here. Kyler Wynn, Jackson Byes, John Ellis Jr. This was way after the caution already came out. Caution itself looked like it was even further back here. Jeff Merck and company. You see the 60 now just catching up towards the rest of the pack. Let's go back and look at this here. I don't know if we're going to get a clear view of the caution because once again, and I do want to note this one more time, again, for the folks watching home who are wondering, what the heck's going on here? Why can't we see when these incidents are happening? Listen, down the road, the plans are to get a nicer computer. Unfortunately, this is the best I've got right now, so we work with what we can. And when you get these big fields on top of that, Daytona, one of the most, I don't know what the word would be, either CPU using or just in general uses up a lot of space on the computer. So it always tends to be, if you're going to have issues with this stuttering, it tends to happen in these sort of situations. But this is back where the incident started. Let's see if we can get an idea of what exactly happened here. See Jeff Merck up top. See the 60 of Tucker McClendon there as well. And then does McClendon go low and get into Merck? Is this, I mean, what happens here? This may have been a little bit earlier. No, can't really see anything there. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure here what happened. It caused this caution. I mean, we can see from that view. Don't see anybody out of shape. Thomas Bennett back here as well. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that the computer started stuttering right there, but by that point, the caution was already out. And I'm just not sure what it was out for. And we could go even further back here, but I'm just not sure. And you can see the field there as they come across the line from the blimp cam. There's going to be a second incident. We'll go to that here in just a moment. Oh, I do see one spinning there. Way off by turn 4. Okay. Now we might be working with something here. That's going to be way off in the distance. Let's see who that was. Couldn't tell exactly who this was that was spinning. Let's see. So you see everybody on the apron here. The 05. There was already one spinning, though, way up ahead. And we're going to figure out who this is in just a moment. That's the 60 of Merck. So Merck's spinning by that point, but man, it just makes you think something happened before then. So what happened here? Caution had already been out. You actually could see some smoke, even though the cars themselves aren't loading in. So that's the best idea I can really give you from here is that you see the smoke. Again, even though the cars themselves weren't loaded in, and then watch as they do load in right here. Jeff Merck, by that point, already kind of spinning around, and everybody's trying to dodge. Looks like they do. And then the second incident right here is everybody comes back up the track. Looks like the second incident here a little bit further up as it happened with Jared Haynes. And the 33 of Jackson Byes right there. So here we go. Watch this from the onboard view, and you're going to see it blink out briefly, but we'll get it back for you here once it comes back into view. So you see, there's the initial kind of blink out, if you will. And he's going to blink back in right here, and looks like they're good, and then just caution was out by there. I'm not really sure why the 4-car went to really split the middle in that case. Not sure if the checkup was more than he thought or what, but you see everybody else is able to pretty much slow down and give each other a gap, and not really sure where he was planning to go with that. But gets into Haynes and then goes down the track and turns the 04 Lee up the track into Jared Haynes. Sends him up into Dylan Jones and just calamity from there. Tonight's been odd in general. Ooh, big hit right there towards the end for Byes. But I'll tell you what's been even more odd tonight is the fact of how many incidents we've had after the caution's been out. So that's certainly something that's kind of been worth note. Let's go back here and see if we can figure out. Give me just a moment here. See if we'll go back first here to Jared Haynes. I know a couple people asking who that 4-car was, and different paint scheme tonight for me as well. I'm not sure. So we're going to go back and watch this from the chase view. And you'll see the name pop up on the rear windshield. Here's the 4-car sneaks by, and that is, looks like Corey Wright in the number 4 car. Man. All right, so we'll turn our attention now back live towards the front of the field. Field back to double file, and again, Kyler Wynn was your second stage winner right there, and he will now, of course, be set towards the back. He went in and got some of that damage fixed. I would assume a couple other drivers did the same. So up front, it's going to be John Ellis Jr. and Nash Bramilla, Max Dinda and Joshua McCullough there as well. And it'll be 44 of 70 laps complete. No more stages scheduled through the finish. next caution we get, because you better believe we're going to get one. We'll see if we can potentially get some insight onto where everybody stands in points for those end-of-race payouts at the moment. But all right. Here we go. So it's going to be, again, 44 laps in the books. The iRacing.com pace car going to make the left turn here tonight. It's been a busy pace driver. Let's see if we can keep it green here. Still a green flag pit stop potentially in play. Is the green flag now back in the air? And that marks now officially just 27 laps to go here at Daytona. Good start up front. By the way, another driver that I haven't mentioned yet tonight that we got to give a quick shout out to is one of the prime colored cars. That's the 06 of Andrew Zonto. Haven't seen him in the field in a little while. Andrew, I know in previous times at least, has actually ran on controller. And probably the only guy I know that can actually run in a money race on super speedways on a controller. Doing a good job here tonight. He's got himself in the 8th spot, currently up 31 positions from where he started this race at. Already 3 wide further back. That's Michael Guest and company. The 05, Joshua McCullough, Logan York, Matt Lee there as well. These are all the drivers that feel like it's go time. Got to try to get back to the front as soon as you possibly can, rather. And for as many cautions as we've had, there's still a fair amount of cars running in the field. Now the 82 of Kyler Wynn going to jump up. That'll add another Chevy onto this 3rd lane. Meanwhile, up front, Ken McCullough Jr. getting his first lap sled of the night after being involved in just about as much chaos as you could possibly be in here so far tonight. Man, that Sprambilla really got shoved aggressively into the back bumper of the 03 of Ken McCullough Jr. The veteran holds on, but, you know, another thing to note is a lot of guys get pushed differently. All depends on how you run your steering, how you drive the car. And so you got to keep that in mind. When you're the lead pusher, you can push certain guys a little bit more aggressive than others. And Brambilla looking a little bit loose, but he links back up here with the 03 coming off of turn 4. And that's really the sketchiest spot to have to do any pushing, is right when you come off the corner. We talk about the cars unloading as you come off the banking, and it just makes it so easy to get that guy hooked. Further back, though, as they continue to duel up front, that 3rd lane slowly but surely trying to make its way up back towards the front. John Ellis Jr., Max Stein to have a little stack up right there through the center of the corner, but Kyler Wynn and Michael Guest still trying to get some more help up top to get this 3rd lane going all the way to the front. See Michael Guest there likely finally starting to get a little hot. He had to back off. Will Matthew Baker jump up if the run is there? And it's so weird how that worked. As you see now, I'm stacking up again on the outside. But it was so interesting is, by the way, you see Trevor Osmond back in the race, but he is way further back towards the pack. Is that it's almost like Kyler Wynn actually gained a little bit of momentum there, even when he had no pushing. But then even as they get locked on, they just kind of stay flat. They don't really go anywhere. Part of that could be because of just how fast they're running overall. And unfortunately, bad news for the 3rd lane is track temp has actually cooled down even more than what we started this race at, now down to 84 degrees. So speeds will continue to go up, but unfortunately the momentum on the 3rd not likely to do the same. Dancing around for more spots was the 92 and the 4. That's Harper and Ward. Taking you now to our drone cam here tonight, as the field's still 3x3. Remember, Daytona also not nearly as wide as Talladega, so it's tougher to make some of these lanes work when you're running this close. But for Ken McCullough Jr., he kind of got thrown out to the bottom right there, but takes the conservative move. And now has himself in a position here where if nobody jumps down, he's going to get a pretty good shot. But, man, the top 2 lanes all of a sudden are really rolling. And the 3rd lane, oh, watch out. Oh, man. Oh, that's going to be another big wreck. They're going to pile it up on for turn 2, the big one, part 3 at Daytona. And this one's going to collect 4, 5, 6, 10 plus. Oh, my goodness. Another hit there towards the end for Wyatt Gray. 8th caution of the night with 23 laps to go. John Ellis Jr. is in it there towards the back. Looks like Mark Fondell. Man. Let's go back and look at it here. This has just been one of those nights. I mean, what more can you really say about it? But it all starts with Falkingham somehow getting shot down to the apron here. Let's see how this starts. So Falkingham's up top, and he's getting pushed here by John Ward. Does he get loose from a push? Oh, it looks like he does. And in fact, there may have been a little bit of bumper net code right there. Watch what the back bumper of Daniel Falkingham does right here. I think that's what happens. Watch the rear bumper of Daniel Falkingham here in the 48. In fact, I'll zoom this in for you. so that you can see what I'm talking about. Notice how it starts, it's buffed out, and then watch. You're going to see it crumple in here right before this car gets turned down to the apron. Watch it right there. See that? That's not natural. That makes me think that something shot that 48 car down the track that violently. Maybe either some net code or something. I know they were actually making contact, but we've seen this sort of kind of bumper net code is what a lot of people like to call it before. Let's go to the onboard view here for Falkingham and see how it looked from his point of view. Watch his hands here as this happens. Well, that's a tough call because it almost looks like he may have been turning down a little bit. Let's see. Play it nice and slow. You see the left input. Yeah, so it looks like he starts to turn down, but then he realizes he's loose. So he tries to gather it back up, which he initially does, but then that second kind of wiggle is what sends him onto the apron. And, you know, again, if it was Talladega, he probably saves it, and you got to give Daniel credit. He's trying. I've been in this spot. It's so hard to keep it down there, even just to keep it on the bottom lane. Because remember, that apron is completely flat. These race cars are not meant to go almost 200 miles an hour around a flat racetrack. They got to have banking to do that. So as soon as you get down there, all the momentum of the car just wants to go straight back up the track. It's exactly what happened right there for Falkingham. And the rest of the field here is just kind of, to a degree, in no man's land. There's just nothing you can do. And they all pile up. Gordon Spain, and then it just becomes a smoke show as everybody's just trying to find a way to get through it here. And a pretty big hit right there on the bottom of the racetrack for the 23 of Brambilla. Hope that's not a night ender for him, but that certainly looked like one of the bigger contacts. Brock Westmoreland gets back rolling. See the 48 of Dinda, John Ellis Jr. A lot of good cars. Been torn up in a lot of wrecks here tonight. So we'll see how many are able to once again come back out after this one. Give you another angle of this here from the blip cam. Zooming in here back to TV1 and you can see the field here. A couple of big hits on that outside line. So everybody kind of channels up to, and eventually it gets so clogged up there's just nowhere to go. And Tucker McClendon and then the Tennessee machine. See kind of the first car there to break the smoke. See the clear. Let's hop on his onboard view and see what he sees through all this. You got to think that's going to push him up quite a bit in terms of track position now. Let's see what Tucker saw. We're going to go to the roll bar view for this one. This is the double zeros point of view. Take a look and take a listen. Man, certainly couldn't see much, but managed to just find a little bit of daylight. Nice job right there by Tucker McClendon to avoid this one. As we take one more look at this here, this is going to be actually from one of our Crank It Up cams, and I mean, that had to collect, no exaggeration here, at least probably 10 or 15 cars that got involved in that one. And as we go back live now, we'll get a count of how many cars are now either in the pits or out of this race. But up front, it's now Jackson Byes, who currently leads the way here at Daytona. Looks like he's got a little bit of damage to the front nose of his Chevy Camaro, but just taking away the point that those Camaros have over the Mustangs and Toyotas. But otherwise, I think he's in a pretty decent position here. Nathan Harper, of course, second. Kyler Wynn, third. Michael Guest, teammate to the 82, now finds himself in fourth. You got John Ward back in fifth. Kent McCullough Jr., sixth. Matthew Baker, seventh. Joshua McCullough, eighth. Matthew Patton and Tucker McClendon rounding out the top 10. All right, so it looks like it's going to be 19 laps to go here. We get the green flag. And I don't see... Well, I do see race control in there now. So we're going to pull them up real quick, see if we can get an idea of where everybody stands on points. Hey, Michael, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
I do. How's it going?
Good. Well, I know you're talking to Corbett right now, but we want to bring in for a quick moment to get an update if you have any sort of idea on where the general points stand for all these drivers fighting for those top 5 point payouts tonight.
Yeah, it looks like Garrett Maines right now in the lead. He's going to have 18 points. He was the winner of stage 1. He did take third in stage 2. So Garrett Maines is going to have plus 18 at the moment. I believe Kyler Wynn, he has 10 points coming into stage number 3. Michael Guest has 9 points. It looks like Daniel Falkingham would be in second right now. Daniel Falkingham scored 9 and 7. So he's got plus 16 coming in. So, I mean, right now it's between Maines and Falkingham. We saw Falkingham obviously just get into it right there, and he's going to have to make a comeback right here. Matthew Baker got on the board right there with 6 points. I'm just trying to cross-reference here. Looks like John Ward finished, looks like he's got 9 points. So John Ward definitely a factor in this one. But right now, Garrett Maines, Daniel Falkingham are your leaders.
All right, Michael, we appreciate that update. We'll let you get back down to it. Actually, one more question here as we go back green. Are there still points payouts for the actual end of the race?
Yeah, so this is a true stage, which will, the top 10 in this stage will all get points. So that will contribute to their totals for the entire race. So essentially, this last stage does count towards points. Each stage winner, we had Garrett Maines win with stage 1, Kyler win stage 2. They are getting paid out, and then the race winner will get paid out $100 here. But yes, the top 10 will score here in the final stage.
All right, series owner Michael Triscaro. Michael, we appreciate it. We'll let you get back to it. All right, there you go. So a little bit different in terms of the end of race payouts again than I think kind of what a lot of drivers maybe expected it to be. And really with that setup, and again, here's another thing that I think would be interesting is if you didn't score any points in either of those first 2 stages, arguably even the first stage at all, you've kind of got no chance. Because, of course, Garrett's already secured, well, he's not technically locked it up yet, but you get the idea here that a lot of drivers, not necessarily in contention, but we'll talk more about that as we get towards the end of the race. Still $100 though up for grabs for whoever's going to win this one, and chaos still unfolding here at the front. Jackson Byes leads the top. The 92 of John Ward on the bottom. And I think if you're Jackson Byes here, you got to be really careful. You got a Pro Series driver behind you, Coke Series rather, and then the 82 of Win. They know you've got damage on the front nose. Don't want to sit up there too long if you get the opportunity to jump down, or you may find yourself getting split out and left in the middle. Ken McCullough Jr. still hanging strong up here in that second spot on the inside line. John Ward now going to jump up. Whoa, man, that's going to stack up the outside line here for just a moment. Field still 2x2, though, for the most part, throughout the entirety of this lead pack. By the way, we talked about cars that are likely out of this race at the moment, and it looks like, obviously, Nashville Miller way off the pace, but Jeff Byers on up are the cars that are all still on this track. As watch out, Zonta with a big moment towards the back of the pack. Just as we got back there, and man, Jeff Byers had way too close of a call on that one, but he's going to be able to sneak by without issue. Zonta loses another spot, but the point I was getting ready to make is it's about 33 cars that are up here generally with the lead pack. A couple are going to lose it. It's now caution. And another pile up here into turn 3. McClendon's in it. Ken McCullough Jr., Nathan Harper. A couple others involved even further up. Kenny Reel looks like he had some rear suspension damage. Dylan Jones. The 12 of Ethan Ecker involved in another incident. That's the 4 of Corey Wright down there as well. Makes it 9 cautions here on the night. Let's go back and look at this one here and see where it goes wrong. So that's actually, this is the last caution, so we'll back this up one more time here. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer to get the data in for the most recent caution. It looks like we just got it right here. And so as we back this up, watch Harper and Ken McCullough Jr., because somewhere around those two is where this all starts. We'll go to the aerial view first. You see as they come off of 2 here. Ken's riding the bottom. Harper gets a little push, and then Harper actually jumps to the middle here on the 03. Not sure if he was just getting hot or what, but looks like there's either some contact with the 00 in the 4 or the 4 in the 03. I think it's the 00 first. See Harper there up top. I think Tucker McClendon maybe starts coming down on him. A little tough to tell. I think the 00 is moving down. We'll get a better shot of this here. Watch it from the chopper view so you can see at this point, Tucker McClendon's got his left sides pretty much either on the seam or just a little bit below it. And then Harper, let's see, does Harper move? Well, it looks like Harper's maybe creeping up, but not much. It definitely does look to me like the 00 of McClendon's moving down, at least from the reference points that we can see. You can see he's at the point where left side tires are almost on the seam. Now he's straddling the seam. Now he's almost to the right of the seam, or rather right side tires on the seam, and that's when that contact occurs. That's going to send the 4 down the track. A little bit of netcode between him and the 03, which is unfortunate because Harper saves it. But that netcode contact sends the 03 back up the track into the 00, and then it's on from here. You see Ken McCullough Jr. up into the outside wall. 12 gets involved, nowhere to go. And then everybody else here Scattering to try to miss it. You see Kenny Real, he's going to take a pretty big tank slapper up top. Yeah, and you see that rips out his right rear suspension. And then for Ken McCullough Jr., Tucker McClendon, looks like for the most part, at least after that, everybody at least held on to a certain degree. See a couple cars that did go spinning through the grass, but I think it's really going to be Kenny Real, who arguably gets the worst out of this one. And that could potentially end another night. Let's go get another look at this here from the point of view for the number 11 car. Here's the initial wreck. Real tries to sneak by it, but just gets clipped at the end, and bam, there's a big hit. The suspension was actually broke before that from the contact. Matt Lee goes through the grass. Multiple others have to dodge it. But it's just been one of those nights. It's felt like nowhere in the field's safe. Normally we'd say either fight for track position or take it easy, but both strategies have seemed to not really work out tonight for a lot of guys. As you see another kind of synchronized spin there from Jones and the 38 of Spain. A little bit of contact there for Jones, Eckert, and Corey Wright, but didn't look like anything too major for any of those guys. As they eventually were able to get back rolling. Let's get one more angle of this here. Zoom things in just a little bit. I want to go back up towards Ken McCullough Jr. where this starts. And man, he has been on the bad end of a couple of these instances tonight where he's been kind of minding his own business and got caught up in it. Harper took a big shot there as well. I wouldn't be too surprised if he's broken some suspension as well. As this thing comes back down, he goes for a full slide, spins around, and Tucker McClendon, who avoided the last wreck, unfortunately not able to avoid this one. As we go back up front now, and it is still Jackson Byes, your race leader, with 15 laps to go. And obviously all these guys in the fuel window now, if you don't see them pitting, then they're confident they can make it to the end. We've only got that one green-white checkered, so of course keep that in mind as well. John Ward going to line up second here. You've got the 40 with Michael Guest behind him. Kyler Wynn, Matthew Baker rounding out the top 5. And at this point, with as much chaos as there's been, I want to go to two of the bigger battles, two of the bigger guys to keep an eye on, if you will, in terms of these end-of-race points payouts. Who's going to win that? And actually, I could probably name 3 of them, but the first 2 is going to be, of course, Garrett Maines and Daniel Falkingham. Talk about how many points they got towards the end. So I would say if those two are up inside the top 10, anywhere close to each other at the end, that's going to likely be the battle to watch for who wins. I guess I don't want to say wins the race. I mean, it could be also for the race, but really going to win that point standings for the race here tonight. And with the lights going off this time, it's only going to be 13 laps to go. And as Jackson Byes continues to lead, let's see how he's feeling up here leading the field at Daytona. Hey, Jackson. We'll try to pull him up here again. And looks like we cannot right now. Fortunately, looks like that channel is locked, so we'll leave Jackson down there at the moment. And it looks like some of the guys he could be working with here tonight. Kyler Wynn, Michael Guest, and Wyatt Gray. And that's some of the drivers that are currently up there with him at the moment. We'll have to see what happens here. Infinite Frost says racing incident. Tucker came down into Harper. Did they call it racing incident? Oh, man. I'm starting to be a little surprised to hear that one, but all right. I mean, I could see the racing incident in the sense of it wasn't this, like, blatantly obvious you turn the guy, but it looked like McClendon may have been coming down a little bit more, but then at the same time, just kind of an odd scenario. Hey, listen, people ask why I chose broadcasting over race control. There is your answer. I do not want to be on the wrong side of those calls. More than happy to stay up here in the booth and watch these guys tear it up for about an hour and a half every Thursday night. Tell you what, the last week was a really good race, and we had quite a bit of clean racing at that. Tonight, though, has obviously been a lot different. First time back in these cars and back at Daytona. Let's see if the jitters are all gone here for the final 13 laps here at the World Center of Racing. Green flag back in the air. And again, it's another stack up on the inside, but a pretty decent jump here for the 33 of Byes. 48 of Falkingham. Notice that move he made towards the back, jumping up top. He knows he's got some work to do to get closer to the one car of Garrett Maines. He's got to start here early. Again, 13, not that many laps left to go. I mean, obviously here, still plenty amount of time, but in the sense of if you get trapped, track position takes a while to make up. And now look at the bottom, surging ahead. Michael Guest going to jump up. That's going to put 3 of the teammates together on the outside. Byes and multiple others here as they rocket down the super stretch and climb the banking into 3. Ward leads the bottom, but Guest up top. Byes and Wynn, the 2 teammates that are lined up behind him. Matthew Baker highest running positions that he's been in tonight. He was second earlier coming to the end of one of the stages. Watch out, they're going to wreck them again. Absolutely, and oh man, this time it's going to send two of them through the grass. McClendon dodges it at the end. Watch out, Steinbach coming back up. Corey Wright piles in. Haynes gets involved again. And another caution. 10th one of the night, which is 12 laps to go. This is now going to set us up for a restart with less than 10 laps to go. Let's go back and look at it here. This one started right about mid-pack, it looked like. Is where the chaos right here started to break out, and somewhere around Quinn Steinbach and company, it looked like were the first couple of cars that got out of shape here. So let's back this up. You're going to see Steinbach here coming off turn 4 on the bottom. And he gets up a little bit, but it seems like they're okay there. But then Brock also coming up, the 183 coming down. It's Mark Rogers. And it looks to me, at least from that view, like that's going to be what ultimately causes it here. Let's go to the chopper view. And is Rogers getting pushed right here would be the question. It doesn't look like it. Maybe gets a little tap there, but he's already been making his way down the racetrack at that point. Back this up again here. So like I said, at this point, he's already driving down. I mean, could there have been some contact between himself and Trevor? Maybe. But I just feel like, well, see, he's trying to get realigned here with Deal 5 of Joshua McCullough. And then, again, there could have been some slight contact, but it really looks to me almost like the 183 is just kind of turning down. We'll go on the cockpit view there and check it out in a moment, but once he does get down the track, he gets into the 22 of Quentin Steinbach. And then Steinbach gets tagged by the 89 of Osvernoff. Those two go for synchronized spins. The 183 of Rogers back up the track. Doesn't get hit there, but then there's the contact. Haynes gets involved, and it's about a 4-car incident altogether. Let's go to the onboard view here for Mark Rogers, and I'm curious to see, usually the hands are a pretty good telltale sign here of if this was of his doing going down or some contact out back. Well, I don't know. It almost looks like those hands were already trying to go back towards the right as if he had some help here. Look at his hands. See how they're kind of straight right here? And then watch him go to the right. There's a brief adjustment, but then right here, they're back right, further right. Just really, to me, makes it almost look like there's something that's kind of turning him that way, not necessarily him just driving it down there. Go one more time to that chopper view and see if we can get any better angle here. For Trevor here, it's tough. I wonder if, go to the rear chase view, if that does any justice here. And it was Trevor Osvernoff who actually hit him here. Not going to be able to see anything from that view. Here we go. Let's try this for Mark Rogers, though. See if this maybe gives us the angle we're looking for. So watch the 89 right here. And you be the judge. Was there contact or not? That's the question we're trying to answer. Right there. Man, it looks like there may be just a little bit. And on top of that, the other thing I didn't mention is Brock's already up the track at this point as well. So even if there's a little bump, whatever the case is, with Brock being up just a little bit, the 183 getting even slightly down the track, and he gets into the 4. So, you know, that's another one where it's kind of like, who do you put it on? Right? I mean, obviously we can pick out a couple things that could have cost it right there. See what race control decides to do. Man. Let's go back live here as Heath Joe in the chat says, good circus, complete with a few clowns. Yeah, it seemed like that tonight. Forgot to bring the peanuts up here in the booth, but nonetheless, 10 laps to go. These guys still going to be fighting for some payouts here before this thing's all said and done. And again, we'll see if we go back to the regular format next week. We'll let everybody know. Looks like a couple people in chat says, I think he came down. I think I agree with that. I do agree, even though Brock was up. Yeah, it does seem like there's no contact unless, of course, the 183 comes down. So, you can certainly see that argument. So, nonetheless, though, it's going to be 9 laps to go now. You've got Guest and Ward up front. Buys and the 5 of Baker in row 2. And so I think if you're Baker and Ward here, you got to kind of be friends to each other, at least until we get towards the end. Because you know that you've got 3 teammates lined up on the inside, which is going to make it really difficult right here. And then don't count out Mr. Garrett Maines up top. Daniel Falkingham just a couple rows back behind him up top as well. So we'll have to see here how it all plays out, as we now are about 6 minutes here from midnight. So we'll see if we can wrap this thing up here. If you're just tuning in, again, we appreciate you watching. It was a special event here tonight for PGR eSports with the new introduction of stage format. I've said it before. Hey, listen, I've been a fan of stage breaks in money racing. To me, I've had different kind of ideas of how I see it, but it's just, there's so many things that can happen, and when it comes to money racing, it always seemed like the longer these guys can go green, the higher the chances are that they stay green. Cautions always seem to be kind of the chaos maker. It's obviously been the case here tonight. So let's see what happens here. But again, single digits remaining, 9 laps to go. We got to make it all the way to the white flag for the race to be official, so still a ways to go from that point. As Michael Guest looking for a win after coming up just 1 spot short last week. John Ward looking to return to victory lane tonight. Green flag back in the air. 9 laps to go at Daytona. Two by two out of the gate. So far, so good as everybody works up through the gears. Climbing the banking into turn number 1. Again, 30-plus degrees of banking. Usually it's the inside that rolls first. This time it's the outside. Big momentum up top for John Ward, Matthew Baker, and Garrett Maines. Maines has got an opportunity here. Watch out. Is he going to take it? Yes, he does. Goes to the bottom with Baker. That's going to put 2 of the former teammates tandemed up on the bottom. I think if you're Matthew Baker right here, you're feeling pretty comfortable knowing that you've got a damaged Garrett Maines behind you, who's maybe not too eager here to necessarily try to make a move. Meanwhile, up top, John Ward has got Trevor Oswanoff, who's Mr. Where did he come from? After getting involved in a pretty big accident early on in the night, he's been able to stay fighting in the race. And here he is. Finds himself back up inside the top 10 with less than 8 laps remaining now. Outside, still continuing to struggle. Those 3 have been tandem up now for quite a while, but here we go. Finally going to get some momentum in their direction. Garrett and Baker need a little bit more help, but they're going to have to wait. And now the outside's going to pull 2, almost 3 clear. Buys, Guess going to go down to the inside. Wynn's going to follow. How about that for teamwork? 3 cars clear to the bottom. And oh boy, now they're going to split it back up. Buys goes back to the top. John Ward there to take the push. Oh man, another big wiggle. Watch out. These guys dancing around. That's going to stack them up on the outside. More contact as they beat and bang doors coming off at turn 4. And back to the line, 7 to go, and they're not looking like we're going to make it back to the white at this rate. Oh man, Buys looking for another clear. He's got a teammate on the inside, so he'll catch a break there, but you got to be careful here jumping up in front of John Ward. You know that 92 kind of knows what he's got going against him on that inside line. I don't think he's going to be too friendly with that group for too long here, knowing how aggressive they're going to be towards the end of this. Still 2 by 2 though. We have not seen a third lane even attempt to develop here so far in this run. Now we might get it. Matthew Patton further back here with the 00 of Tucker McClendon, the 48 of Max Steinda, the 22 of Quentin Steinbach. Let's see if we get any other takers here. Wyatt Gray's looking. And that factory setups machine now, he'll go as well. That's going to make it now about a 5-car chance up top, but they've got to get connected, and they just can't do it at the moment. Oh man, Buys back up top. Block's starting to get a little bit more dicey, but he was clear. John Ward, Trevor Oswanoff trying to find a way to separate the teammates. And I'll tell you exactly what I said last week when we were coming to 2 laps to go, and that is that, in my opinion, oh, Buys gets turned. The 33 is going to go for a slide down the super stretch, no caution. And Jackson Buys goes from leader to spun out. With 6 laps to go, he is out of it unless we get a caution. And that changes the dynamic up front completely. Ward and Oswanoff now go to the lead on the bottom. Ward goes back to protect up top, Falkingham second up there. And the point I was just getting ready to make, which has now changed, was that I think if you still have those 3 up front, you have to find a way to either split them up or get in front of them before we get to the white flag. We saw how it panned out last week. And I think some of these guys may be taking notes, but boy, was that a tough break for Buys or what? Had it all going. In fact, we'll take just a quick look at this here before we go back live. Was this a bad push from John Ward out back? Yeah, it kind of looks like it was here, but you can make an argument. That's tough. Man, these guys have not made it easy tonight. Let's watch from the chopper view. This should be a little clearer. Again, we're only going to take one more look at this here, but watch it slow. So you're going to see Trevor. Well, John's clear. They're pushing Buys. They get him a little bit out of shape here. Baez kind of gathers it back up. He goes to slide back across the bumper of Ward. Looks to me like Ward's kind of wanting none of it. And as Ward tries to go higher, gets him in the right rear, and that just sends the 33 around. I don't think Jackson Baez is going to be too happy about that one. As we go back up front now, and Michael Guest back to the lead on the inside, and just like that, Kyler Wynn has also made his way back to the lead here on the outside. They'll be coming to 3 laps to go next time. It'll be just 7.5 miles remaining here at Daytona. And they still stay 2 by 2. Kyler Wynn back to the bottom. There it is. Trevor Osborne off the round into the pack. He's going to collect John Ellis Jr., the 40 a Guest. Mark Vondell slides in. Couple others down by the inside wall. We are headed to overtime. Man. Well, that's I don't want to say a big break for Baez. It certainly saves any chance he was going to have. But obviously, still is going to have a ton of track position that he's going to have to try to make up in one attempt at 2-lap shootouts. As we go back and look at this one here. 11th caution of the night. But hey, who's counting anyway? So here we go. Let's go all the way back to where this starts. And this was up front. And it looked like it started with Trevor Osnoth getting turned. And boy, from that first view, kind of looks like, well, no, I think there might have been some netcode here between the 40 and the 89. But let's get a couple different angles of this first. Break it down. All right, so watch here. You see the 89 up top. He's going to get a shot right there from Falkingham. And obviously, that push looked pretty square. You could argue that it maybe turns Trevor down the track here a little bit. But it's not a ton. Let's go to the chopper view. So maybe a little contact there. And, well, no, there was contact. So it looks like that little bit of a bump that the 48 of Falkingham gives to the 89. And granted, Falkingham's getting pushed here by the 21. So there's not a ton he can do, but it's just a little bit offset to the right. Just a little bit. Sends him down just enough to get into the right front of Michael Guest. And then it's on from here. You got a car spinning back up in front of the pack. You know it's not going to end well. And, ooh, for Falkingham, I almost guarantee that ripped the suspension out. I'd be amazed if it didn't. Then you see Guest and, fortunately, multiple others here that get collected with just nowhere to go. Trevor Osnoth, one of the drivers, getting the worst of it. 48 of Dinda, and then up front, another secondary accident after the caution. John Ward got turned way up there. We'll have to go look at it after we finish kind of breaking down what happened here on this one, but that has happened way too many times here tonight. So there you go. There's the initial contact. Up they go. Did Ward initially have this saved and then just got turned? I mean, what happened here? You see Guest and Ellis. Man, that's a big hit for John Ellis Jr. as well. Parrish looks like he gets some contact as he's trying to save it. But then there's John Ward, as I think it was more so just Ward trying to gather it up there. And as he was trying to gather it up, I think he makes some contact with Baker. And then sees what's happened. But Brock Westmoreland slides to a halt. Gordon Spain maybe with some contact as well. And from this point of view, let's go see if we can get a couple more angles of this. First here from the blimp cam. And then we want to go to an onboard view. So see, there's the initial contact. They'll wreck for Ward here. That's exactly what it is. John Ward was just trying to save it. And in the process, he had a little contact with the front of Matthew Baker. So that's what got him out of shape. Let's go to the onboard view, though, here for John Ellis Jr. He was right in the middle of this and took arguably one of the biggest hits of anybody as he got wedged against the outside wall. Take a look and take a listen here for the 21 car. So that one for sure going to be a night ender here for John Ellis Jr. And give you one more angle of this here from one of our, again, crank it up cams. This is going to be actually down by the pit lane, and watch as they come off turn 4, all the chaos unfold. All right, so as we go back live now, setting up for one and only chance at overtime tonight. No more cautions. So it is going to be a 2-lap shootout to decide the race winner and points winner here tonight at Daytona. And remember the rules for the 2-lap shootout. There are none, because again, it's only one overtime attempt. So it's not leader has to make it to the white flag or there's a caution. It is we are racing this thing back to the checkered. And if you get in a wreck, try to get it back going and get yourself back to the line. So we'll have to see what happens. I'll tell you what, with the way it stands right now, Tyler Wynn definitely got an opportunity here, but it's going to be interesting to see how this pans out for Garrett Maines. Daniel Falkingham is still up here. And I'll tell you what, I'm amazed because I thought for sure with the way that car got hit and where it got hit, it was going to break that left rear suspension. It's almost like a guarantee, it feels like, in these cars, but somehow looks like it's still hanging on here. Look at the cockpit view and see how the steering looks great too. So besides a little bit of rear aero damage for Falkingham, which isn't even that big of a deal, he's in great position here. In fact, he's got the advantage over Garrett Maines at the moment. And if he's able to finish pretty close to Kyler Wynn, I believe he would potentially have an advantage there as well. Of course, we'll still have to sort everything out at the end. Don't forget, there's still $100 to the man who gets the race win here tonight. Michael Guest, John Ward still in the mix. How about Gordon Spain? Boy, you talk about an underdog victory. What if he could get the job done here tonight? 34 positions from where he started this race at. That's where he runs at the moment. And here we go. Everybody going to get one more check of the tires. Down to second gear. And one final shot at it. This restart crucial for the 48 to 82. Does Wynn jump it? Does he go on green? And can Falkingham match? Here we go for the final time tonight. Into the restart zone we go. Green flag back in the air at Daytona. Good restart. Kyler Wynn, Daniel Falkingham pretty much even, but it's the inside that's got much more overall organization here as they race into turn number one. And if you're Garrett Maines, what do you do here? He sits on the bottom at the moment. He sees that top not super organized, so he's going to hold it there. But now the bottom starts to check. Daniel Falkingham needs all he can get from John Ward, Gordon Spain up top. Looks like the outside going to continue to organize more and more now as they rock it down the super stretch. Still keeping it together though. Michael Guest, Kyler Wynn on the bottom. That's two teammates pushing. John Ward, though, has been one of the best pushers all night. Can he find a way to keep Falkingham up front for another lap and a quarter? And oh man, wrecking out back, but it's not going to matter. We stay green up front. Coming to the line, it's going to be white flag in the air. One lap to go at Daytona. And oh man, Wynn's going to now have to really try to work these lanes. You see him starting to bomb and weave. The top has lost some momentum. That means they might make another charge, though, at some point down the super stretch. Baker's going to have a shot. It's got to go now, though, if he wants to get it. Watch for that 5 car to jump up. These two trying to see if they can cover whichever way everybody's going to go. Baker not able to go up just yet. The 5 car stays on the bottom. Now he's going to go. The 18 of, oh man, Wyatt Gray ditches him going into 3. And that really loses some momentum, but Wyatt Gray still on the bottom. The 82 of Wynn up front. Michael Guest still pushing. These two not looking like they're going to have to worry about anybody else. 2 weeks in a row, it's going to come down to the teammates. Maybe not. Baker splits high. Wynn to the bottom. Kyler Wynn. Maybe not. Oh my goodness. Did Guest steal it at the line? What just happened? Unofficial scoring shows Michael Guest just stole it at the line. I thought Kyler had it. And for the second week, we get a surprising finish right at the last second. Oh my goodness. Unofficial scoring has Michael Guest taking it over Matthew Baker by 100th of a second. Ooh, we got to go back and look at that. When these two got into blocking each other up top, I thought Kyler had it. I'll be honest, my eyes drew away from him. But then all of a sudden, let's see what happens here. So you see Guest goes high. But as soon as Baker splits here, I thought it's over for these two. I thought Kyler had this in the bag, and then see Guest tries to block Baker once. Baker says, okay, I'll go back low. Guest comes back down, maybe just because he's loose. Gets into Baker twice, and by that point, Kyler had fallen about a quarter of a car length back. So it did come down to these two, and that's how close it was. Between the 5 of Baker and the 40 of Michael Guest. Guest gets it by about a quarter of a car length. This was interesting to see from these two here. Watch this one more time. There's a big block from Guest, but kind of the general rule of you always get one shot, but not two. And it seemed like Guest made the first one work as he sees the 5 go up and says, I don't think so. pretty decent block there. And then Baker says, okay, well, I'll go back down. And then right there is where it's tough for me to tell if it's because he's loose right here or if he's turning down into Baker to try to slow him down. It's tough to tell. I really think he might have just been loose. But let's go to the onboard view here and see if we can get a cockpit view from Michael Guest. Yeah, that's too tough for me to tell. You see right here, he goes up. Well, I can't tell. That's one that these guys will have to sort out amongst themselves. Because Michael Guest is a little loose right here, and then he gets loose again. Now he's trying to save it. So, yeah, it's tough. Definitely didn't look like he was trying to do anything malicious, though. And certainly made for a good finish. It's Matthew Baker and Kyler Wynn, 3 wide at the line. And I believe that this is going to be really close in points, too, because for Falkingham and Maines, they basically finished only a spot or two apart, I think. And for Falkingham here, it looks like he actually got scored about 2 positions ahead of Garrett Maines. So, man, it's going to be interesting to hear what Race Control has to say on who got the job done there as we now go back live and take a look at your finishing results here tonight. For now, Michael Guest being scored as your race winner. Matthew Baker on his first race back in. I couldn't tell you how long. Doesn't look like it took him long to knock the rust off. Takes home second here tonight. Kyler Wynn third. Wyatt Gray finishes fourth with Daniel Falkingham fifth. John Ward in sixth. Garrett Maines seventh. Gordon Spain in eighth. Matt Lee ninth. And Jeff Byers rounding out the top 10. Dylan Basin finishes in 11th. Matthew Patton back in 12th. Basin 12th. Joshua McCullough was 11th. Matthew Patton 13th. Logan York 14th. Dylan Jones finishes 15th with Mark Blondell 16th. Brock Westmoreland 17th. Trevor Oswanaugh takes home the 18th spot here tonight, finishing and rounding out the top 20 rather in 19th. It's going to be none other than Sean Parrish and Nathan Harper in that 20th spot. Ken McCullough Jr. finishes 21st. Nash Miller 22nd. Tucker McClendon 23rd with Jared Haynes 24th. Max Steinda 25th. Jackson Byes 26th. Ethan Eckert 27th. Corey Wright finishes in 28th. Going on back to 29th, it's going to be Mark Rogers with John Ellis Jr. in 30th. Quentin Steinbach finishes in 31st. Thomas Bennett 32nd. Kenny Reel 33rd with Andrew Zonto 34th. Jeff Merck 35th. Steve Sizemore 36th. Larry McDonald 37th. Nick Seipel in 38th. That's going to be Cole McMillan in 39th. And Curtis Mitchell rounding out the top 40. Malik Ray 41st. James Waring 42nd. David Flanagan in 43rd. Cody Rogers 44th. Kevin Champagne 45th. And Sean Corbett rounding out the field tonight finishes in 46th. All right, with that, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back here at Daytona. All right, going to kick things off first here tonight with your race winner, and that is Michael Guest. Michael, this is Austin up in the booth. Get a copy.
Yep, I got you.
Well, last week you come up just 1 spot short against your teammate. Tonight, looks like it's going to come down to you and your teammate, and this time you come out on top. Tell us about what was going through your head there coming off of turn 4 and how you're able to fend off the 5 of Matthew Baker.
Yeah, first off, that was a crazy race. For it being the next gen, there's a lot that happened there. I accidentally took a nap after I signed up, and I missed the start of the race by a few laps, so I missed the first stage, which was really unfortunate. So from there on, it was just trying to make sure I finished in the top 3 and, the second in the last stage. So I put myself in position, and then I got wrecked on that last caution there, and I thought I was destroyed. I mean, I went head on to the wall, got hit 7 different times. Somehow the car was all right, though, and I got my spots back for the green, white, checkered restart. And, yeah, from there, it worked out in our favor because we were already in about the best spot. It's pretty tough to go from like 6th to 1st on a green, white, checkered in this car. So me and Kyler already having the track position, we felt pretty good there. Just wanted to make sure that we could control it. We knew that Maines and Falkingham and some of the other guys like Ward had points with us. I think Baker might have had some good points too. So definitely didn't want to give up any spots at the end there. We knew a lot was on the line as far as the stage points and the money goes.
Absolutely. And, Michael, you've kind of been on a heater here recently. It feels like the consistency has been coming a lot more for you here, finishing top 5, top 3. Have you changed anything around, or has the luck aspect of super speedway racing finally been on your side?
Yeah, I feel like I've been I'm getting a little bit of the luck lately. For the longest time, I feel like I was in a money spot on the last lap, and I was getting turned like out of turn 2 or into turn 1. Like I felt like I was never there out of turn 4. So I don't know, these last few combos that I've been doing that there haven't been last lap wrecks for up in the money spots has been pretty nice. And on top of that, just I've only got a few wins in here, so pretty nice to take home a win tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Adding to the resume. Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, before we let you head out tonight, you know you're guaranteed at least $100. So before you go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, of course. You guys for the broadcast, PGR for doing these money races, the entire community, of course, for showing up every week. It's always fun to do these, regardless if you make money or not. But yeah, and also Kyler, our teammates, Jackson, you know, I don't know how many people are in teams working together in this series. I don't pay too much attention to it because I don't race too often, but I feel like we got a really good group going, so appreciate the boys.
Good group and a dominant group at that. Michael, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats again on the win, and hopefully we'll see you out here again next week.
Thank you.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher. That is none other than the 5 of Matthew Baker, one of our fellow drivers / owners here at PGR, and that is Matthew Baker. Matthew, this is Austin up at the booth. You got a copy?
I got a copy.
Well, I know you guys were down sorting some stuff out there in post-race room, but we wanted to bring you up because right now scoring shows you in second here tonight. First question is break us down through that finish, man. It looked like you had a shot there coming to the line. What more do you think you needed to beat Michael Guest?
I don't know. I think that I did everything that I could to go to the outside. I just think I timed it a little bit late. I could have got to his outside, but didn't. But still was a great race overall from the end. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously a different special format here tonight and your first race back in a while. What did you feel like was the biggest difference tonight that you had to adjust to, and what did you think of the format?
I think the hold on a second. I think the car was just, you know, there's no real side draft. It is gridlocked, so you have to really push through cars. So you have to push 4 or 5 deep to go anywhere, and we were able to do that to get up front and compete with Kyler and Guest there at the end, and just not enough, but it was fun.
Certainly a lot of fun to watch. Well, Baker, before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone that you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, just thanks to MBG Motorsports, Baker & Son Construction. Shout out to Garrett, Falk, everyone that was working with me there, Kyler and Guest there. Racing against them was a lot of fun. Ward did a great job as well, so congrats to everyone there that finishes in the top 5 in the points and top 5 in the overall.
Absolutely. And Baker, thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on that second place finish, and hopefully we'll see you out here again soon.
Thanks, bro.
All right, now that's going to bring us up to your final podium finisher here tonight, the man who won last week, podiums this week. That's Kyler Wynn. Kyler, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, brother.
Well, last week you win the race. This week your teammate wins the race, but you still bring home a third place finish overall. But man, coming to the line, I thought you had it. As soon as they got up top to block it, I thought it was over and you had it wrapped up. What was going through your head there as you saw those two sneak by right at the end?
Well, honestly, I wasn't too confident about getting the win. I think if I was behind, yes, maybe. But we didn't really have any agreement there in terms of staying in line and working together. So I was expecting the move, which is cool. That's how we race every week. But yeah, I'm not going to try and block that and, you know, potentially wreck myself and him, you know, because I knew he had it once he made the move. So there was no point in really, you know, trying to do something crazy there. But I'll take a third any day of the week. I think I needed a good finish here to finish in the stage points or the championship or whatever you call it. And I believe I finished 4th or 3rd. I don't really know yet. We're waiting, but I got 4th or 3rd. So I'll take that.
Yeah, and that was the next question I was getting ready to ask you about in terms of points. Obviously, you win the second stage there, so you get an extra $50 from that. But was the aggression level, did it feel a lot different? It certainly looked different, knowing that everybody was fighting for those stage points so early on.
Oh yeah, the whole race was like go go go. Like there was no saving, there was no chilling. It was just racing the entire time, which I like. I think that's what I like about this format is that we were racing the entire time. There were quite a bit of yellows, but that'll happen when we're racing like this, especially in this car where things are so like pushing is so sketchy and you have to push like 5 deep for your lane to go anywhere. Yeah, but either way, I don't mind this car. I know a lot of people hate it. It's something different than what we normally run, like Gen 6 or the Xfinity package. Because like the Xfinity package is the same in like pretty much every car in racing, besides GR car in Gen 6, and those two are similar. So this is something different. I don't mind it. I don't want to do it again, like anytime soon, but it's nice to run this every once in a while.
Absolutely. And Kyler, we appreciate you talking to us. So before we let you head out tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, Mike for race control and tallying up all the points in that. I know it's very stressful doing being RC, and you're being judged no matter the call you make. You for broadcasting, you do a great job with these, so I appreciate that.
Kyler, once again, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on a podium. Another one, 2 weeks, 2 top 3s. Hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
All right, there you go. Kyler Wynn. Kyler Wynn rounds out the podium here tonight, and with that, it's going to just about wrap up our coverage. Before we officially do, I know a lot of people wondering, how exactly did the top 5 points pay out? So let's see if we can, let me bring up race control here and get an idea of how that looks if they have it done. So we bring up now series owner Michael Triscaro. Hey, Michael, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Well, I know you're still working on stuff, so if you don't have it, no worries, but we just wanted to check before we wrap things up if you had an idea yet on how the top 5 and the point standings look for tonight.
Well, right now there's a little bit drama going on behind the scenes. Garrett Maines, Daniel Falkingham. There is a discussion about whether we were going off iRacing scoring when the yellow came out, or if we were going off of a frozen camera when the yellow flag came on. So if you're looking at stage number 2, Daniel Falkingham was ahead of Matthew Baker. Now, if we go by the replay, which is what I thought we were doing based on Baker's discussion within the race radio, Falkingham would have that point win the tiebreaker. Garrett's argument is, we've never done that before. We go off iRacing scoring, which technically there is no rule in our rule book for this, considering we've never done an event like this. Typically do not do stages, kind of like RMR would have rules for this in the rule book. So we're kind of looking through the rule book here. If it's not in there, we're just kind of walking through here who's going to win. So it's either going to be Garrett Maines or Daniel Falkingham, first and second. It looks like Michael Guest would be third, Kyler Wynn would be fourth, and we're thinking Matthew Baker right now will be fifth.
All right, well, we appreciate it. And hey, wouldn't be a PGR night without some post-race drama, but good to know, Michael, and we will let you get back to it, and we appreciate, once again, the update.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, so there you go. Top 2. The question is just going to be the order in which they finish, but top 2 is going to be Garrett Maines and Daniel Falkingham. Again, the only question is which one of them is going to be first and which one's going to be second. And then Michael Guest third, Kyler Wynn fourth, and then in fifth is Matthew Baker. And if you're wondering how much payouts that translates to, we can actually check this real quick just based off the flyer alone. And we're going to assume now, we'll leave the top 2 out of it, but let's just say for Kyler Wynn's sake, he won a stage. That was $50 plus a 4th place finish in points. He'll go home with $150 tonight. Matthew Baker is going to take home $75. Garrett Maines is going to take home at least 50, looking like either 200 or 200 or 300, depending on if he gets first or second. And then Daniel Falkingham kind of in a similar situation, but he'd be about $50 less, I believe. So that would put Daniel Falkingham as taking home either $150 or $250 here tonight. So with that, we'll wrap up our coverage here tonight. As always, thank you all so much for tuning in. Baker's mom and Jerry Buys say thank you to PGR for the broadcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next Thursday with more action for the Intimidator Superspeedway Series. Until next time, I'm Austin Green. I hope that you enjoy